What is happening, people? John Denton here. Welcome to a show that's absolutely nothing like Anthony Fantano's Let's Argue, so I don't even want to hear it in the comments. Anyway, Benny the Vegan says, mainstream UK hip-hop has been better than mainstream US hip-hop since 2019. The new wave of US hip-hop sounds very bland and generic, while the UK has some very exciting upcoming artists, Slow Tie, Loyal Kana, Dave, etc. Interesting point. In many ways, I have to agree, and it's not just me repping the UK. So check this out, if you take out, and maybe you shouldn't, but if you take out some of the absolutely enormous artists of the past 10 years, J. Cole for example, who's just released music recently, Drake, couple of others, and you think about the artists that are blowing up right now, that are doing big numbers right now, in the US and the UK. From my point of view, when it comes to the mainstream stuff, the stuff that's actually hitting the tops of Billboard and the tops of the UK charts, I think the UK stuff is a lot more interesting. Let's take two recent examples. Polo G, Rapstar, and Tion Wayne, Russ, etc, etc, if you're talking a remix, Body. Two songs that hit the top of their respective charts in the last month to 6 weeks, something like that. Which one would I rather listen to? It's not even close. Which one do I feel has more energy, more excitement, more involvement, is going to represent what I want to hear throughout this summer? It's not even close. It's the UK, it's Tion Wayne, etc. And I do think that there is an energy going on right now in the UK where artists are coming through, many are supporting one another, and of course there are some beefs as well and some, dangerous stuff going on. But genres are kind of blending into each other as well, just from straight UK rap, like a Dave, to something a little bit more left field like Slow Tie, who's actually wouldn't necessarily be considered mainstream over here. To these tracks, like we talked about, where drill is becoming a slightly more mainstream sound, and yeah, you get to number one in the UK, it's a mainstream sound. Like Body, bring in the kind of Afro swing, bashment elements, all sorts of different things, J Hus, even elements outside of the NSG. There's all sorts of exciting things happening in mainstream UK hip-hop, rap, the general thing. In the US, if we're talking about the likes of Pooh Shiesty, talking about Polo G, talking even about Lil Baby and Lil Durk, the album reaction that I just did, from my point of view, it's just not as interesting. And the state of beats at the moment in the US, mainstream, not talking about underground, mainstream, I think is in a really bad way. I don't want to hear any more acoustic guitar. I'm sick of those trap hi-hats. Come on, it can do much better. Hot take delivered. That's a spicy one. That's a spicy one. Denzel says Kendrick hype is dying, and that is from a fan of Kendrick since, he says from a fan of Kendrick fan, as from a fan of Kendrick since Overly Dedicated. I know what you mean, but I don't think it's anything to worry about. If this is coming from the point of view that you're a little bit worried about your favourite artist not really having the impact that he may have had even 4 years ago, I think the second that you hear a snippet of music or, a drop, maybe it's the heart or a single or anything, or if he's just going to come straight out with an album, I think the hype is going to be crazy. I think it is going to absolutely dominate everything. I think, in fact, the expectations for this new record aren't there yet because the hype cycle of music has become truncated just because there's so much coming out. Just think about even during this pandemic times, how much has come out, just even in the last couple of weeks, trying to keep track of everything. Just a few weeks ago, people were talking about that Mac Homie record. Drake was talking about it. I haven't heard anybody speak about that in a week. That shit was only about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So the second the noises start to happen around Kendrick, I don't think there's any chance of the hype dying. I'm not worried about that at all. Music does not need understandable lyrics or even lyrics to be great music. For example, I love Sigur Rós and I don't know a word of Icelandic. I've got to basically agree with what you're saying. I think there's countless examples over the years, even going back to the classical era, of music that doesn't have lyrics. But obviously, being a mainly hip-hop focused channel and music being so focused on that world at the moment, then lyrics do play a more important part. And specifically within that genre, especially the more lyrical elements of that genre, lyrics are held in a much higher esteem than almost any other genre. And I actually do like that. But then again, I will hold other artists to a less higher standard when it comes to lyrics. Even trap artists who aren't necessarily trying to be so clever with their lyricism. And then you move into rock music and punk and all sorts of other things where lyrics, honestly, Nirvana, Nevermind, one of my favourite albums of all time. Lyrically, some people might argue the specifics of the songwriting. You're probably right, but I've been listening to that record since I was a kid, and I've never really thought too much about the lyrics. So, and of course, you talk about Sigur Rós, etc. So I think that is an absolutely fair point, and perhaps in pure hip-hop, people are a little bit too focused on the lyrics. But then again, you could argue in other genres they're not focused enough. Maybe everybody just needs to relax a little bit. Future is probably top 5 rappers over the last 5 years, maybe even top 3. Guys, I think we need to have a conversation about Future. Now, top 5 rappers over the last 5 years? Not so sure. So we're talking sort of mid-2016 onwards Future. I'm thinking a little bit before that. Let's stretch it to 10 years. This maybe needs to be its own video, but people have been talking about Mount Rushmores recently, and you've got your Cole, you've got your Drake, and you've got your Kendrick on there, and other people, Nicki Minaj, some people are saying. I don't think that you can really talk about that right now without including Future. And you might argue Young Thug, etc. But for me, the hit rate and the influence of Future, the fact he's still able to jump on so many different tracks with so many different types of artists. Referring back to the previous question even, do I hold Future in the same regard in terms of a lyricist as those other 3 on the Mount Rushmore? No. But if you actually think about the music that has been coming out, well, for the last 5 years, think how influential he is. Now, does influence matter that much compared to actually enjoying the music? That's its own debate. But in terms of actually enjoying the music, Future's got so many hits. March Madness? I mean, that track is fucking unbelievable. Mask Off? Are you kidding me? Especially now, that thing is going to dominate once again once the world starts to go back to normal. So many hits, so much influence. I don't think you can talk about the best in the game of the last decade without talking about Future. JD the Prophet is the best white rapper of all time. Hashtag go. I'll take second place behind Mac Miller. I think that's fair. Childish Gambino is one of the greatest musicians of this generation and should have been held to a similar level as The Weeknd and Drake during the 2010s and perhaps now. I think the problem with Childish Gambino is how prolific, or indeed how unprolific he's been. And obviously the guy's been very busy doing other things. Yes, he released a record, what was it, 2 years ago now? Time has become a little bit strange. But did that really make the impact that it perhaps should have? Do you guys listen to that record very often? I know I don't. Certainly not compared to Because the Internet. Certainly not compared to Awaken My Love. Which, by the way, when I first heard, I didn't get at all. But that's a whole nother story for another time. And it's interesting, I've just been re-watching the first 2 seasons of Community. Troy, one of my favourite characters in comedy ever. And the level of talent of the man is absolutely ridiculous. But I don't think he can be held in the same esteem as The Weeknd and Drake, just because they've both constantly been delivering music for the last decade at a regular clip. You know, Drake has music coming out very, very, very soon. Weeknd had the biggest album of last year and is still kind of playing upon that. There has just been more consistency from those guys. But in terms of ability, in terms of talent, in terms of what might be coming next, whether it's music or whether it's TV, new season of Atlanta, or who knows what else, I love Donald Glover. I love Childish Gambino. The guy is incredible. But we need another project on the level of Awaken My Love or on the level of Because the Internet to really cement him back at that level in music. So that's it. The episode is over. Right now, this show doesn't have a name because Fantano stole the best possible name for this type of show. Not that this show has anything in common with Anthony Fantano's Let's Argue. So I don't want to hear it in the comments, alright? But please do let me know a name for the show. I thought Hot Takes, it might end up being called that. Mass Debate. Yeah, I know. Let me know down in the comments. Put some more hot takes down there, but make sure you're following on Twitter. As you can see, yeah, I use it in light mode. Come at me. I use it in light mode, man. I got old eyes. That is it. I'll catch you all very soon.